Congratulations. It's been a long road, a long, winding road for some, but God has been with you on the journey, and as has been evidenced by those of your classmates who have shared, you have been there for each other, and you've reached this moment, a weekend that is a milestone in your life and experience. So congratulations. The fact that you've come this road to this day means that there are other roads to which you've said no. At every intersection where you have stood, if you've turned left, you've said no to right. If you've said yes to the highway, you've said no to the byway. If you've turned onto Main Street, you've turned away from First Street. Because in every decision you make, there is the loss of the road not taken. Now that line comes from a verse written by a novelist, a screenwriter, somewhat of a journalist and philosopher by the name of John Gregory Dunn. I came across this quote first many years ago in a book called The Romance Factor. It was a book about life and love and choosing a spouse and how to make life joyful in your relationships. It was buried within that book on one of the pages that I read this statement. I see it, writes Dunn, as the problem we all have of choosing a road in life. If I go into this work or share my life with this person, then I cannot go down another road doing other work or sharing my life with another person. So it seems that no matter what choice I make, there is the loss of the road not taken. That is embedded in every choice you have made. You just want to make certain that the road not taken is not the road you should have taken. My wife and I had that experience just about a week ago. We were traveling to Nashville, speaking engagement, and both on the outbound and the inbound flight, our flights were canceled. They were canceled because we fly American Airlines, and American Airlines goes through Dallas-Fort Worth Airport, and there was weather in Dallas. Now, every traveler will tell you, I have a favorite airport, and an airport that's not my favorite. The one that is not my favorite is LAX. I much prefer Ontario. Simple, clean, quick. I also love Dallas-Fort Worth Airport because it's laid out, it's clear, but Dallas has weather. And so last week, we kept getting texts, your flight has been delayed, canceled. And so they put us on an all-nighter, one of my least favorite experiences. And then on the way back, again, text after text, it's been delayed, canceled. And so there we were waiting many hours. Overnight, we holed up at an airport hotel. And then we got a text, your flight has been canceled. So my wife says to me, let's just go to the counter. So we drove to the airport, went to the counter. She engaged with a merciful ticket agent behind the counter. And she said, you know what? I'm going to reroute you on a different airline through Denver. That way you will miss DFW altogether. Because that, she didn't use this term, but this is what she was saying. That ought to be right now the road not taken. It was in this process that our son texted us a TikTok video. He said, I want you to know what's going on at DFW right now with all those people from those hundreds of flights that have been canceled. You need to avoid DFW. So look at the screen. This was the line at the customer service counter. Watch. Thank God for the road not taken. Have mercy. There is a good experience, a good feeling, and a sense of wisdom if you choose the right road, because not only are you on the right road, but you have chosen well in terms of the road not taken. So how then do we make those kinds of decisions? What kind of wisdom is required to decide? Because you not only have made choices on the journey here, but as you journey from this place, there will be many choices to come. As I have gotten older, and every year in my annual journey through Scripture, I have come to love more deeply the wisdom literature. Books like Proverbs and Ecclesiastes. Many of them penned by a wise man named Solomon. Now, some scholars say we think that Solomon probably wrote much of this late in life. There's probably good reason for that. Good reason because I read that good decisions come from experience, and experience comes from bad decisions. And so Solomon made many of those bad decisions in his life. So likely when he sat down, he was a bit stooped, gray-bearded, large, roomy eyes, and much experience. I want to read you the way he begins the Proverbs. Now, this is through the lens of Eugene Peterson in his paraphrase, The Message. This is how it begins. He says, these are the wise sayings of Solomon, David's son, Israel's king, written down so we'll know how to live well and right, to understand what life means and where it's going, a manual for living, for learning what's right and just and fair, to teach the inexperienced the ropes and give our young people a grasp on reality. There's something here also for the seasoned men and women, still a thing or two for the experienced to learn, fresh wisdom to probe and penetrate the rhymes and reasons of wise men. That's why he wrote it. That's why I love it. In fact, I ran across a statement about what Proverbs is all about that said it far better than I could ever say it. I want to share it with you because it's so true. It certainly, writes the author, not the seamless, fluid writing style that keeps people coming back to Proverbs. This book reads like a lifetime collection of someone's Chinese fortune cookie messages, scribbled down in the order they came out of the bag. However disjointed these snappy one-liners and two-liners are, they contain the wisdom of the ages condensed for the quickly bored. In the time it takes to read one sentence, we've dished up a life-tested insight on any one of a thick menu of everyday topics. Good women, bad women, spoiled kids, lazy slugs, etiquette at dinner meetings, co-signing loans. The advice is don't. Controlling that temper, avoiding the wrong crowd. Lots of great topics. But if you've ever gone to a convention, you probably discovered pretty quickly that you don't choose workshops by their titles. You choose them by the one who's doing the talking. The primary source for Proverbs is Solomon, the Israelite king about whom God said, I will do what you ask. I will give you wisdom and understanding that is greater than anyone has had in the past or will have in the future. He is worth a listen. So that's where we're going to go. We're going to go to just one proverb, a proverb that speaks to the issue of making good and wise decisions. You have to know that lurking in the background, hovering over what is said in this one proverb, is the definition of wisdom throughout the book. That wisdom is that divinely inspired insight into life which we as human beings alone don't have. So with that in place, I want you to listen to Proverbs chapter 14 and verse 8. You'll have to listen carefully and be attentive because it goes by quickly. It's a very short verse. Proverbs 14:8 says, the wisdom of the prudent is to give thought to their ways. The folly of fools is deception. Or maybe better translated, self-deception. So what the wise writer is saying here is, those who are wise think deeply about life and choices and where to go at crossroads. Others are simply self-deceived. It's an important thought for today because we are overwhelmed with choices. We're not only overwhelmed with options, but there is a certain vacuousness to the kind of deep wisdom that requires slow thinking. All you have to do is go to the store. I've thought about this at different times. Go to the store to buy some shampoo. If you walk into the store, ask, where's the shampoo? They say it's on that aisle. You go over to that aisle. And if you've got 2 shampoos, this one's dandruff, this one's non-dandruff, you make your choice. 2 minutes later, you're paying and you're out. But that's not what happens. You go to the store, they say, there's the shampoo aisle, and you stand at the shampoo aisle, and there's 40, 50, 60 different kinds of shampoo with every imaginable description and every ludicrous promise you can imagine. And so you stand there taking them off the shelf one at a time, trying to figure out dry hair, oily hair, dry scalp, dandruff, full hair, full body. What do I need? 30 minutes later, you're still trying to make the decision over shampoo, overwhelmed with options. And it leads to great confusion about what to choose in life. In fact, I read a story about 2 old codgers on a country lane. They didn't quite have their math straight. Their lack of skills in that area kind of reminded me of lack of skills in decision making. They bump into each other. One says to the other, if I guess how many fish you have in that bag, can I have one of them? The man who just came from fishing said, if you can guess how many fish I have in this bag, you can have both of them. First one says 5. The other one says, nope, missed it by 2. I read that and I think, what? What in the world? Well, it's that same kind of mystifying conclusion that at times can paralyze people standing at the crossroads. Which road should I take, and which should be the road not taken? I want to suggest to you that the wisdom of Proverbs might sound something like this for us. Choosing the right road has much less to do with destination than it does to do with destiny. It has much less to do with destination than it does to do with destiny. One of the first questions most graduates have after they march down the aisle with sheepskin in hand is, what does success look like in my chosen career? What is it going to look like 5, 10, 50 years from now to say I have lived successfully? What does it look like? Maybe you ran across the story of the 3 men driving to work together, discussing that precise question, what is success? First one said, I'll tell you what success is. Success is getting called to the White House and having the president confer with you. That's success. The other 2 said, wow. Then the second said, no. Success is being called to the White House to confer with the president, and while you're sitting there conferring with the president, the red phone rings, and he lets it go because he's conferring with you. And they said, wow. And the third one said, no, that's not success. Success is getting called to the White House to confer with the president. The red phone rings, he answers it and says, it's for you. That's success. So what does success look like? Some answer that question by saying success is a destination. After all, they say, accurately I would say, that the most important decision you can make if you're on a journey before you begin is to ask, what's the destination? Once you have your destination in mind, every intersection becomes more clear because your simple question is, which road will lead me more directly to my destination? So it makes sense to say success is figuring out the destination. That's success. But if that's all it is, that may be problematic at the end of the journey. Because success does have some addresses as a destination. 338 North Rodeo Drive, Beverly Hills, California. Balenciaga. That, you say, is success. Or maybe you say, no. It's 775 Fifth Avenue, New York, New York. Yesterday, on Zillow, townhouse, for a mere 57 million. That's success. Or you say, no, it's 300 Rue des Champs-Élysées, Paris, France. Some of the most expensive real estate in the world. That's the destination. That's success. Or you can fill in other experiences, car brands, vacations. That's the destination. And when I arrive, I will know that I have succeeded. But if it's true that choosing the wise road is more about destiny than destination, then we have to ask, what is destiny? Destiny, if you do a few clicks on computers toward dictionaries, you will find has to do with a bigger picture of living a life of profound purpose, of connecting with a deep sense of why I am alive, of why God wired me in the way God did. It has to do with that endeavor of living to make a difference in the world that will last beyond you. That's destiny. It is associated with words like service and sacrifice and giving. In fact, William Booth, founder of the Salvation Army, may have said it better than anyone else. Older in life, many years ago, unable to attend the annual worldwide conference of the Salvation Army, he cabled them. Cabled the directors, the leaders, the organizers of the event, sent them a cable to tell them, this is the focus of what we're doing. In that cable was but one word: others. That's destiny. Could it be that choosing the wise road to travel and choosing the wise road to be the road not taken has much more to do with destiny than with destination? What, after all, was our proverb again? Back to that proverb, it says, 14:8, the wisdom of the prudent is to give thought to their ways, but the folly of fools is deception. Maybe just a couple of brief quotes from 2 Bible commentaries will help flesh out a bit of the meaning of this proverb. Here's the first one. The foolish person has not gone to the trouble of considering and evaluating the outcome of their actions, while the wise person shows wisdom by subjecting every plan and every act to careful scrutiny. The wise person must be satisfied that the course chosen leads to eternal life. That person knows that there are forces at work within and without that are seeking to lead them astray. And the second quote, life is often deceptive. And the text here implicitly exhorts readers not to be taken in by appearances. Meaning that the wise person pauses long enough, ponders deep enough, probes wisely enough to understand what this decision involves at a much deeper level than just this moment today. In fact, maybe there's another quote that might even shed more light on what this proverb is trying to say. It's a quote that comes from a sermon preached many years ago. A sermon that is known around the world by a title that wasn't originally attached to it. The Sermon on the Mount, that says this: you can enter God's kingdom only through the narrow gate. The highway to hell is broad and its gate is wide for the many who choose that way, but the gateway to life is very narrow and the road is difficult, and only a few will ever find it. Or finally, Maybe that same passage just through the mind and the pen of Eugene Peterson, who renders it in his paraphrase in this way: don't look for shortcuts to God. The market is flooded with surefire, easygoing formulas for a successful life that can be practiced in your spare time. Don't fall for that stuff, even though crowds of people do. The way to life, to God, is vigorous and requires total attention. So maybe it's true to say then that the wise road to choose has much more to do with destiny than destination. My wife and I watched the movie years ago, before many of you were ever a gleam in your father's and mother's eyes. It was called Mr. Holland's Opus. It's the story of a musician with a dream. The dream to write the opus, the concerto, that would make him famous and critically acclaimed. His name was Glenn Holland, played by Richard Dreyfuss. But as often happens, that destination was always just out there, just beyond reach. You have to pay the bills, you have to put food on the table and milk in the fridge. And so he took a job teaching music at a high school, teaching band to students, involved in drama. But every night found him at his table, composing and planning and dreaming. But the years passed. And as the years passed, he got caught up in the realities of life. Life and its challenges, its twists and turns, its bright days and dark days, its difficulties and good times. He had to deal with those. He also found that as time went by, he became increasingly enamored with his students and trying to help them capture a vision, try to help inspire in them a love for music. He would compose and they would play. Slowly, he began to pour his life into those students. Somewhere along that way, he began to realize that this dream he had of this opus, fame, wealth, was only that. It was just a dream. Now, if you were planning on watching Mr. Holland's Opus tonight, cover your ears. Spoiler alert. The day comes at the school when, in a budget-cutting measure, they say we're going to have to cut the music and drama programs. By now, he loved these students. He had poured himself into one generation after another of them, and he went to battle fighting for them, trying to say, we need this. You can't cut this. But it was an inevitable reality. The day comes when the session has ended, the decision has been made, his final class has been taught, and he goes back to his classroom and his office with a proverbial box to begin to fill it with his belongings. But later his wife and son show up to help him. It's a deeply sad moment. They take that box and make their way down the hallway to leave, when he hears some noise in the direction of the auditorium. School is out of session, so he's curious, so they walk to the auditorium. He opens the door, only to discover an auditorium packed with people. His students, his former students, his colleagues, a banner in the front that says, "Goodbye, Mr. Holland." Soon as he opens the door, there's a standing ovation. He's overwhelmed. His wife, who was in on the plan, makes her way to the mic and says a few words, trying to fill the time until the speaker arrives, the MC arrives. Turns out it's the governor of Oregon. She arrives and makes her way to the microphone, to the platform. He recognizes her as one of his very first students, one of the ones who had struggled so much, into whom he had begun to pour his life and an assurance, you can do great things. She comes to the mic, and this is what she says. Mr. Holland had a profound influence in my life. and on a lot of lives, I know. Yet I get the feeling that he considers a great part of his life misspent. Rumor had it, he was always working on this symphony of his, and this was going to make him rich and famous, probably both. But Mr. Holland isn't rich, and he isn't famous, at least not outside our little town. So it might be easy for him to think of himself as a failure. But he'd be wrong, because I think he's achieved a success far beyond riches and fame. Looking at her former teacher, the governor gestures with a hand and continues, "Look around you, Mr. Holland. There's not a life in this room that you have not touched. And each one of us is a better person because of you. We are your symphony, Mr. Holland. We are the melodies and the notes of your opus. And we are the music of your life." That, my friends, is destiny. Not a destination at which you arrive and finish, but a destiny that lives far beyond you. That destiny will come at knowing which road to take and which road to make the road not taken. There are very few guarantees in life, but I'm going to offer you one. This I will guarantee you, that time and again in life, you will stand at the intersection, at the crossroads, at the juncture, and you will have to decide which will be the road you take and which will be the road not taken. When you do that, you cannot go on appearances alone. So you might want to remember this. Wide roads and broad lanes and lovely streets and easy street, they often lead to destinations. Good destinations, but just destinations. On the other hand, uphill roads, thorny roads, twisting and turning lanes, challenging ways to travel. Well, those often lead to destiny. You will have to choose time and again. So remember the old wise man who got a lot of wisdom by making a lot of bad decisions, and who says you can't just trust appearances. Choose wisely the road you will travel, and wisely the road not taken. Because when your hair and your beard turn gray, you'll think much more about these things. And you will say, "Thank you, God, not only for the road you led me to choose, but also for the road not taken." And may God bless you.